Hey guys, it's ExandShadow, and welcome back to Let's Play Trauma Center New Blood. In the last part, we had a challenging mission. Or, if you actually give a shit about the plot that's going on, we escaped from our kidnapping escapades. They're probably gonna make us work the day we got back, huh?
I'd like to hear the Department of Health's opinion regarding stigma. Secretary Mendez?
I consider this case a very serious matter.
As you can tell by my incredibly monotone voice acting.
Could you please elaborate?
First off, stigma is a virulent disease created by man. Reports indicate that a contagious strain exists, which means it's a significant threat.
What's that? A contagious version of a very dangerous disease is a threat? You don't say!
So we must face the possibility that stigma is being circulated as a biological weapon.
Well, when Kidman pretty much said, I'm going to go sell stigma as a biological weapon so I can buy more ridiculous pink wigs, I'm pretty sure that it's an assumption, it's a pretty good assumption to say, yes, it's a biological weapon. I mean, it's not a possibility, that's what's going on.
There's even been a major outbreak in one country.
You're talking about Kularuma, correct?
No, I'm talking about Made-Upia, the made-up country that we made up so that we wouldn't have to offend any countries that actually exist. Despite the fact that this takes place in the USA, a country that actually exists.
Mr. Deputy Secretary, Caduceus is our country's finest.
There's no need to explain.
We've had the entire game centered around these morons. I'm sure I know who they are by now.
I'm so glad that you're all back safely. You must have been so scared.
You have no idea.
They made us do operations against our own will. Actually, it wasn't that different from being here. We had to do operations against our own will, and I don't think we were getting paid.
Your disappearance, we had begun to fear the worst. How are you feeling? Were you harmed? It was a difficult situation, but we were determined.
Even if it means doing the same operation pretty much twice in a row.
My resolve to continue this mission has grown even stronger.
I wouldn't have objected if you had decided to resign, but I'm glad to hear you.
Good, now we can have you not be paid and working for us.
Something caught my attention while we were being held captive. It concerns Professor.
I think he was obviously there, but in a oh yeah, they're actually bringing this up. Marcus doesn't get fooled by this bullshit, as we've discussed before. He notices plot points, but doesn't act on them. But this time, he actually is acting on them, so hooray. Marcus is smart enough to know it's the professor because it sounds just like the professor and it looks just like the professor. Stupid hair and masks aside.
And spoke. I just don't think he could be Professor Wilkins.
He had the same exact fucking voice.
I just can't figure out how he got mixed up with them.
He got kidnapped? Seems like a pretty good way to get mixed up in something you don't want to get mixed up in. I don't know, that's just what I'm saying.
The patient has been flown in by the military. We don't know how infectious the disease is, so use the quarantine transfer unit.
Didn't we already discuss that this disease was a contagious strain? I'm pretty sure that taking any precautions is probably the right idea.
I know that's a lot to ask since you just returned, but I hope you're up for the challenge.
I did the challenge mission last part, dude. Come on. Pay attention.
Operate while we were held captive.
Oh my, is that true?
Yes, believe it or not.
I'd like to say that you will have the very best working with you in the research lab, but unfortunately, we've lost a key staff member. We'll still do all that we can.
You see, without Cynthia, we're kind of shit. I hope you haven't noticed that by now, but she's kind of been doing all of my work for me.
She seemed so dedicated to her work.
Do you have any idea why she quit, Isabella?
As a representative of Humani, I'm not at liberty to say. But I'll tell you as a friend.
Oh, just a friend. I see how it is, Isabella.
They blamed her for developing products that increase patients' susceptibility to stigma. But no one could have anticipated that side effect.
It's a shame to lose someone like her, but we can't dwell on it. Let's prepare for the operation.
Yes, let's completely forget about that plot point. That'll in no way be important to the overacting events that'll happen in the future. Yep. Not important at all. Hint, that means remember that for later.
Present throughout the operation. I realize it may be difficult to perform such a procedure after your recent...
So we're going to make you work the day you get back anyway, and I'm just gonna sit here and watch like a jackass.
I can't tell you how relieved I was to learn that you three were safe.
Especially since it was my fault that you got kidnapped in the first place.
Yes, but the preliminary test didn't tell us much. We did learn 2 things, though. First, it has multiple arms, which are causing all the damage. Second, we can prevent further damage by removing the grapplers from the ends of the arms.
You know, it's kind of hard for us to understand what's going on if you're just sort of explaining it to us and not actually showing us what it looks like. So, yeah, Kanai is being a little bit vague and unhelpful here, where it's that's pretty much just what she always is, so I can't really blame her for that. Cromwell, however, is being pretty useful, so I'm glad for that at least.
Which will temporarily restrict it.
Basically,
It's technobabble. That's what it is. It's technobabble. Shut up, Cromwell.
Would you mind giving it a
So, yeah, we're doing another new Stigma operation. I don't remember this one's name, so I'm sure they'll say it in a little bit, and it won't be that big of a deal. But, you know, sorry about that. It's not really important anyway. For some reason, I always remember the names to the Guild, but not the names to the Stigma, even though I like this game a hell of a lot better than Second Opinion. Odd that is. So, yeah, we start off this operation like every other operation that we've done, you know, disinfect the entry point, use the scalpel to open up. Now, this Stigma, I remember its name now. It's Brachion. Brachion isn't too hard, but it's definitely a Stigma that requires a lot of attention. It's actually, I do kind of like this approach to Stigma because it's a constant threat, but it's not something that's constantly making cuts or something. So while yes, you're always paying attention and you're always you're always paying attention to the Stigma, it's not like it's not like you're just treating symptoms the whole time. You're spending the entire time trying to actually treat the Stigma. So that's an interesting take on it. Anyway, you see the glowing balls that are coming from the center and heading towards the outside? If those reach the end, if those reach all the way to the end, to the outside, that's really bad. You want to avoid that as much as possible. So in order to stop the balls from moving farther away from the center of the core, what you want to do is use the forceps. If you use the forceps and you click on one of the little balls, it'll squish it down, keeping the glowing part from reaching the outside as it'll stop its progress temporarily. What you need to use is use the purple fluid and stick it into the little grapplers on the sides, then take them off. It sounds simple, but it really is a test of your multitasking skills, because you have to not only try to take out all of the grapplers, but keep track of the glowing balls as you're going along, and make sure that they're not going anywhere. A trick that I would say is try to take out the grapplers that have the longest routes as quickly as possible, because sometimes you'll have grapplers that only have like 3 balls on them, and then you've got some that might have like as much as 6. So take out the ones that have more balls on it first, because you'll get more time to deal with it. If the yellow balls reach the end and there's a grappler at the end, it'll just do a lot of damage to the vitals. But if it reaches the end and you don't have a grappler there, all of the grapplers that you've taken care of will grow back. So you definitely want to make sure that you keep those grapplers from reaching the end. It's a constant multitasking game. See there, some of the balls reached the end to the grapplers, and I took some hits to the vitals. However, I need to make sure that I do not let any of the open grapplers reach the open grapplered chains reach the end, because otherwise I'll take not only will I take a massive hit to the vitals, I will also lose a ton of. I'll also have to redo a lot of that shit again, and I don't want to bother with that. But overall, Brachion isn't really the hardest Stigma in the game. It's definitely not that. It's just a constant test of your awareness and how and just your multitasking skills. If you can handle keeping an eye on everything and paying attention to what's going on, you can get through that pretty easily. It's kind of like Soma, or was it Ops? It's kind of like Ops in that way, where as long as you've got pretty good multitasking skills, it shouldn't really be too much of a problem. It's not the most exciting thing to watch operating on, but it's a lot more fun to actually do in person. And look at that, a decent ranking. I find that I don't get those as often as I think I should.
Yes, it was a tricky one, but somehow we managed.
I don't mean to press my luck, but I actually have another favor to ask of you three.
If you're gonna make us go on a fucking business trip right after we get back from being kidnapped, I'm going to punch you in the face.
We're quite used to extremely difficult tasks by now.
We received a request for aid from the country of Kuluruma.
God damn it.
Outbreaks occurred. They desperately need doctors who know how to treat stigma.
So, why are we the only doctors in the world who know how to treat stigma? I mean, seriously, haven't we taught anybody else around here how to do that yet? I mean, we've got Kanae, we've got Dr. Everett, we've got tons of doctors around here. Why don't any of them know how to use stigma? I mean, seriously, it's obnoxious. Why are we always the only ones who ever know how to do this fucking shit? It's obnoxious and ridiculous and... yeah. But yeah, I don't know, this always just frustrates me. Where, yes, I know that Marcus and Valerie need to be the main characters of the game because they're who you play as, but it always seems kind of odd when everyone else around you is so goddamn incompetent that you end up having to do all of the work yourself. I just find that slightly ridiculous. I don't know, that's just what I feel, but But yes, another trauma-centered tradition. We have to go out of the country to do stuff somewhere else because nowhere else in the world can actually handle doing things on their own. So yes, our made-up country this time is Kuluruma. Yeah, I know. They had another made-up country and both Under the Knives. At least Trauma Team didn't just said Mexico. Okay, you're going to Mexico. There you go. So, but anyway, I don't know if I should be racially offended by the incredibly odd accents that they're having, but I'm just going to ignore it and say that they were just trying to make it actually sound like you were out of the country. But anyway, odd mustache you got there, dude.
Stigma has claimed many victims, and now rumors are sending the populace into a panic. My people's suffering is my own.
Yes, my people's suffering is my own, as I say as I'm sitting in my nice comfy couch, sipping on various alcoholic beverages that I do not even know how to pronounce.
Where are the doctors headed?
Sir, they'll be deployed to Arbel, sir.
I see. Our American friends may not be prepared for what is in store for them.
You know, saying things like that makes me think that you're kind of a villain when you say, our American friends might not know what's in store for them. He's not evil, I'm just kidding. But he kind of sounds like he could be evil. He's not really good either, so... neutral. The most boring of all of the alignments. And oh great, a dog. I'm not a dog person, I'm not gonna lie. I've just never liked dogs. And I don't even know what a dog is supposed to do in this situation. Protection? I guess a dog could help protect me, but I'd rather have one of those nice soldiers with one of those big shiny fancy guns that they've got lying around, you know? That'd be pretty nice. I'd feel a little bit safer with that, and I mean, I guess it's a cultural thing that we're supposed to be getting here, but... the dog is nice, I guess. I can handle getting a dog. Though we're not going to be able to keep it, so... it seems like this gift was sort of handed out of your ass. I would have liked that banquet in my honor, I'm not going to lie. That would have been pretty cool. I'd rather have that than a dog.
He has his hands full between the gorillas and the economy. And add to that, stigma.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Vaughn, Dr. Blaylock, and Miss Salazar. And you are...
Yeah, who are you?
Estrada.
You know, I
here,
think that
but I'd like
having
to
a
move school and
intern
do
would
my
have been something that the
residency in the
president should have
US.
brought up
I'll be
before
acting
now.
as your
Because that's
interpreter.
pretty much what
I'm thinking
Maria
about
here is.
practicing medicine here,
She's
actually.
an
Oh,
intern.
yes. They did say something about an interpreter.
Oh yeah, and
Maria?
well, no,
Are
he
you
didn't
feeling
say
okay?
anything about an interpreter.
I think I may be coming
Did he?
down with something.
I think I'm not even paying attention anymore.
Look at her eye, Val. It's all red. Maria, did you get your immunization shots before returning here?
You know, something really simple and something that you should know better because you're a
As a
fucking
doctor, you should
doctor.
know better.
Yeah, as a
Val,
doctor,
she
you
might
should
have
know
virus
better.
A fever.
Ugh.
If that's
So
the case,
yeah,
she'll need
our
immediate
interpreter
treatment.
and our intern,
That's
someone who's
endemic
probably
to this
very
region,
important to
but
our
she
progress
hasn't
here,
lived in years.
gets sick on the
I
first
need
day
your
on the
help.
job.
We need to check her lungs.
I wish I could pull that
Okay.
shit. You
I'll
know,
get
I don't want to
everything
put up
ready.
with the boring training shit, so I'm just gonna be like, I'm I'm sick. Yes, that's it. Sick.
Supposedly it
So
causes
yeah, now we're
unusual tumors
having
in the lungs.
Viamassi fever.
Those must be the fever
I
tumors
wonder
mentioned in the
if that's a
examination
real
reports.
thing.
It
I
appears
don't
that
think it is
removing these
because
tumors will
they're
greatly
talking
improve
about
the
fever
patient's condition.
tumors, and you know Trauma
gives us an
Center,
idea
they
of
just
how
like
to
to
treat
pull
it.
tumors right out of their ass when they don't know what to
Strange.
do.
You're
Just
right.
ever.
These
But
fluctuating
anyway,
numbers are cause for
this
concern. It seems like
operation
they're
we're just going to have to
periodically
treat the
rising
fever
and falling.
tumors. It's not as
can't
simple
just
as you
leave it
think
like
it is.
this.
They're past the
There's no
point where
time
they're
to
like,
waste.
oh
Let's begin the
crap, we need an
operation
operation. Tumors. Yes, go tumors. Go treat that. But no, we're past that point.
Alright,
These
let's get
tumors
started.
do actually have something different about them, so we're going to see that once we actually start playing the operation, which is going to
Well, here
be
we
very
go.
soon. Right now,
All do our
actually.
best.
Anyway, yeah, let's pretend that didn't happen. Yeah, again, as I said earlier, I don't feel bad about restarting the operation if I make a dumb mistake like that, you know? It's really no big deal. But anyway, once we get past the loading screen, these are the fever tumors. Basically, you remove them just like normal tumors. However, there is a little gimmick to them. You see how they're changing the colors there? Basically, red means stop and blue means go. When the tumors are blue, you can treat them just like you treat a normal tumor. So you suck up the stuff, you excise, and all of that. However, if they're red, you don't want to touch them at all, because if they're red, you'll take massive damage to your vitals if you try to do anything to them. And even after you start excising them, they'll keep on changing colors. So you have to constantly be paying attention about this. Now the scars there, for a really long time, I thought that was just a decoration thing. But however, if you touch a red tumor when you have a scar present, so after you cut out a tumor already, if you touch a red tumor after that, you will actually take damage from all of the scar areas. So that's really, really bad. So you just want to make sure to avoid touching the red areas at all times. Never, ever, ever touch any red area. Now, since the time limit isn't really an issue and it's a tumor mission, you can really just sort of take your time, go slow, and try to just operate as carefully as you can. There's no need to rush. Take your time. If you think it might change, stop, wait a second, wait for it to change and change back, and then continue. This operation is fairly simple, but if you make a few dumb mistakes, you are going to take massive hits to your vitals, so as long as you're careful, you should be fine. But anyway, the operation overall is pretty simple, so you shouldn't have too much problems with it. It's a pretty simple procedure. You shouldn't ever die, because you've got plenty of time to do this. It's not like it's a frantic operation. As long as you make sure to not rush, you're going to have a pretty easy time with this one. It's really simple. It's just that if you panic, you're probably going to take a lot of hits, so
She's also a
don't
doctor.
panic.
We could have taught her how to treat stigma. Someone will have to continue seeing patients after we're gone, right?
Good thinking, Valerie. You know, it might be a good idea to have more than 2 doctors in the world that know how to treat this incredibly deadly and dangerous disease.
Are you going to allow that, Marcus?
I mean, doesn't she need like 2 weeks of bed rest or something like that? She can't just come up right up after getting an operation like this. It's incredibly dangerous. Oh, what? We're just going to ignore the obvious health risks even though she's an important asset to this country's future and just have her operate on stuff anyway?
Yes,
Anyway,
someone.
yeah, I don't get
Understand
this,
her
but
desire to
whatever.
help people.
Anyway, next time, we're gonna do more things in Made Up Ya. I'm ExandShadow, and I'll see you guys later.